You have fabulous ideas.
You give me slack for a lot of the things I do, but when it comes to my ideas,
That's because I'm a coach.
it is. It's true, and I've got some pipes now. I don't know if you've noticed.
Whoa! Look at those.
I know.
Look at those.
It's been like, I don't know, 45 days now straight of my
Wow.
workout routine.
Fabulous.
You proud of me?
I am so proud of you. I really am. What I want to say is I'm giving you full permission on In the Jungle with Jungle Gym Hunter. I'm giving you full permission to go in any direction you want. And if you want to just dwell on one thing, we do not have to do all of this.
Okay.
We can just do whatever pieces you want, whichever way you want. And I just want to freestyle it. I just want to have some fun today and really just do something without
Loosen up.
Yeah, I want to have as much fun as possible.
You want me to challenge you with my wisdom?
I want
my
you
thoughts.
to challenge me with anything today, because I found this over the years that I've worked with and coached people and helped them, and including coaching myself, that the biggest challenge for most people is they want to change.
Right.
Like, I have two friends where I work that came to me and said, "We're listening to your podcast. We love it. We want to do this." And they came to me when they heard the very first one and haven't come back since. And this week I ran into them and I said, "So when are we starting?" And they went, "Well, I don't know. And it's the same thing, is that most people can't get started because they don't want to set goals. They don't. It holds them responsible. The minute you set a goal, it all of a sudden holds them responsible, and they realize that to do what they want to do, what they say they want to do, that they have to change what they're already doing. And somehow giving up and sacrificing something for something that you want to do that is going to take time. It's like they instantly want to be just changed.
They instantly want big guns. They don't want to do any of the work.
They instantly want to go 225.
They're impressive.
I did it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And they don't want to go through the hard work of getting there.
Yeah.
And yet,
training every day.
the fabulous part of it is that the joy of working out and training and actually eventually achieving it is so inspiring, because it gives you the impetus to try anything after that.
Right.
So I want to welcome you to In the Jungle with Jungle Gym Hunter. We hope that you'll become a Patreon. You can sign up and get the extended material.
Learn some more info.
You can learn more things, how to do it, how to apply it.
We'll answer every question.
And in addition to that, if you want to be coached by me, you can become an extended Patreon. In other words, I'll start coaching you and I'll help you reach the goals you want to reach. So if you're sitting on the fence out there and you're wondering, why is it that I don't want to start? Today's for you. Today will help you really try to think about that. And some of the stuff I may say might seem difficult, tough.
But it's what you need to get going. Jim, I also love today that you're wearing your hat.
I'm going to wear my hat through the whole show today just for you.
Wow.
I'm going to wear it.
It's been like 15 episodes now.
And
that took you a long time.
People wonder why I wear this hat.
Yes.
But I wear this hat because my mother, when I first went to Kokanee Glacier after my concussion as a kid and I started ski racing and I was going to be on this snow and ice and glacier in the hot sun, wanted me to wear a hat. And so she bought me a safari hat, and it looked just like this, except it was white.
Right.
And we couldn't find a white one.
Well, I got him two hats, and he didn't like
I don't
either.
like those. They look like somebody from the Australian outback.
So he got his hat, but he's going to wear it today, and I'm excited.
And remember, we got two hats sent to us from Australia, because they're listening to the podcast in Australia, and they send us an updated hat.
Yeah, some more Australian.
I don't know where we
back
put them.
hats.
They're here somewhere.
Oh, I think they're up here.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, there's the hats. There's the hats. Cool. Okay, so the big theme of today is getting started, is being on the fence. How do you actually take your first step into the deep waters of, the goals you wanna set? So what would you tell someone that's like really first jumping into it? That's like, okay, I know something needs to change, but I haven't thought about it more than that. Where's the first step for
the very first step is actually. I mean, this is the way I know it. You know what my father did every time he wanted us to learn something new?
What did he do?
He would dare you.
He would dare you.
He would literally dare you.
Okay.
And if you think about that, when you were going to school, when you had friends and somebody would come along and say, I dare you.
Mm-hmm.
The kid that is the daredevil, the guy that wants to do it, he jumps on the bike and does it.
Yeah. He goes off the cliff.
He jumps off the cliff.
Yes.
He's the first guy to dive into the pool. He's the first guy to go up to the high diving board and go, okay, here I go. Get ready. And so, the crazy thing about us is we don't want to take the dare, right? Because the D in dare stands for discipline. My dad would say, do you have the discipline to do it again? And do you have the discipline to do it the right way? Okay, that was a belly flop. Now I want to see you dive. Right? And, lots of people would quit at that point because now they have to work at it.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do it. But what I discovered I had to do with people was help them understand goal setting. Because goal setting has been around for a long time. And lots of people have goals. And, there's dozens, if not hundreds of books written on goal setting.
Right.
But I discovered with all the kids that I've worked with and all the people I've worked with is they set the wrong type of goals. And because they set the wrong type of goals, they don't get it. And even the people that I tell how to set the right goals, not mentioning any names, Cole, still don't get around to it.
Okay.
Because they see in that the responsibility that they have to take to do it.
So would you say the goal on my fabulous goal of benching 225, is that a right goal in your mind? Is that that's good? That's a good goal, right?
Not only is it the right goal, but we talked about it. And we talked about the fact that I said, you have actually chosen the right kind of a goal because it's a goal that you can measure. Right. And so I can hear somebody out there right now going, oh, he's talking about SMART goals. I'm okay with SMART goals. I just don't like the way they do it. SMART goals are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay.
They're
really specific.
Yeah. But the problem with that is that most people still set their goals based on what the result will be, not the growth that is required. And that's the difference. You see, when you have goals that have growth required built into it, and you dare somebody to do it, and then as my dad would say, I dare you to do it, to have the discipline. And he would always show you how or what he wanted you to do, and it inspired you because you said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. I should have, I even suggested this to you. I'll go to the gym with you and bench press 225 so you can experience it and see it.
Yeah, you can hold it. Hold the bar.
But you said no. So, that was your choice.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
But then he would say the A in dare is anticipate. Anticipate what you have to do to get it done. Because you see, what holds you up is all of a sudden you forgot your running shoes. All of a sudden you forgot your gym strip. All of a sudden you forgot your gym equipment.
Right.
Or I forgot I had an appointment, I can't go, and then something else comes up, and then something else. And you don't anticipate it if you don't write it in blood.
Almost literally.
Literally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Write it in your daytimer, training. And it's there because you're going to make sure that you anticipated that anything that gets in that way doesn't even get a chance. Doesn't even have a chance. And then I used to hear this statement all the time whenever we would say, I can't do it. He would say, son, responsibility begins at the end of your arms.
Responsibility begins at the end of your arms.
He would say, you have hands. If you can reach it, if you can hold it, your ability to respond is right here. And so if you are anticipating what you're going to do and you're disciplined enough to put it on your schedule to do, and you say, I'm going to do it, and then you go and do the work because you've got the plan in front of you, then all of a sudden you've I dare you to do it. I've empowered yourself. I've empowered you. You have empowered yourself to do it. And I get asked this all the time. How did a kid from Saskatchewan ever become an Olympic skier when there's no mountains?
Hay bales.
And I said, hay bales. Hay bales and straw.
Right.
What? I skied off the back of the haystack. I skied on a ramp on straw.
Mm-hmm.
Everything I did, even though there were no mountains around, I did because I was in my mind going, I dare you to be ready. I dare you to be strong enough. I dare you to take responsibility that despite the fact that there's no snow around, no mountains around, you're going to find a way to do this. And setting goals requires you to set growth goals. Why? So you know where you are all the time.
In relation, because if it's results based, that makes sense. If you don't have the results, it's like, I'm not making progress, and you're like, well, actually, that's not the point. The point isn't the result. The point is your growth in the journey, right?
When I do a seminar for people, I have all kinds of little tests that we do in front of a live audience.
Okay.
And I'll say, okay, tell me what your goals are. And I'll point to a kid and he'll say, play in the NHL. What's your goal? I want to go to the Olympics. What's your goal? I want to win a gold medal. Those are all results goals. And you say, what difference does it make? Think about your brain. How does your brain work? Your brain doesn't respond to something that is out there. It doesn't respond to something that is 10 years away.
Right.
It may imagine it and go, wow, I could do that.
In 10 years.
But I got 10 years, so don't worry about it. But when you set goals that say, I have to have a max VO2 of 70.5 to be an Olympic skier, the first thing you're going to ask yourself is,
what's it right now?
What's my max VO2 right now?
Yeah.
How far do I have to go?
Right.
What do I have to do? And, SMART goals and all the other goals in books, they will tell you, get a picture of the house you want or the car you want or the wristwatch you want to wear, the clothes you want to wear, put it up on the fridge. If you weigh too much, put a picture of a skinny body with your head on it. You can have so much fun with this and it sounds like it's great. Wow, I'm going to get motivated. And then every time you look at the fridge, all you think about is food.
Oh, it's true.
And you don't think about the skinny person.
Right. Or
with
my
your
body
head
with
on it.
Your head on it, yeah.
Exactly. So I have a statement that I use all the time with all the kids I work with. I need you to set growth goals instead of results goals.
You need me to set growth goals instead. Yes. Result goals.
And
that makes sense.
most people don't get that. They don't understand that because they don't know what a growth goal is. See,
but is benching 225 a growth goal, you would say?
benching 225 is a growth goal, but it's the last goal.
It's the last. Oh, I see.
Remember, I just said, what do you do next? If you decide you want to go to the Olympic Games, that's the last goal. That's the result you get if you set growth goals, that your brain, that the mind, that the attitude, all the things mentally that you use as the instruments to get there. You have to think your way there. You have to focus your way there. You have to concentrate your way there. Everything that you need in you to think about, your brain needs to be challenged to say, how do I do that? How do I do that? When do I do that? Where do I do that? How can I do it now? I don't have this. What do I do without that? What do I do with this? How do I get it done? And it's the how that hangs us up because we don't know where we are right now. So I said, if you want to get to a goal, you start out by the minute you say, I want to do this. Where are you today? Where are you right now? And then what are all the steps you have to take? Literally, I've taught thousands of people this same thing. Work it back. There's the result. Where are you today? And then fill in all the steps in between. Fill them all in. And if you can fill them all in, then all of a sudden, oh, okay, I can do the next one. I can't do that one.
Right.
I can't do the 10th one. Cole, when I set out to say I'm going to be an Olympic athlete, and I was inspired in that moment to do it, the first thing I sat down and did was I said, what is it that I could do that would inspire everybody else to believe they could do it? And the reason why it has to inspire other people, not just yourself, is because when we inspire other people to achieve their goals, we get energized by the energy we give them.
Right. It's like a circle. It comes around.
It comes right back around. And so the first thing I did was I looked it up and I went, oh, the women in Canada in alpine skiing have won Olympic medals. Because when I started out skiing in 1963, there was no World Cup. World Cups didn't start till 1967.
Right.
And so the only thing there was these classic races in Europe and in the United States. There was none in Canada at that time. And then there was the World Championships every 4 years, alternate to the Olympic Games.
Right.
And so the only way to measure yourself to see how you were in relationship to the world was to go to the Olympics and the World Championships. Well, we had won a bronze in 56, we'd won a gold in 60, and by 1968, when World Cup had already started, Nancy Green won gold and silver in Grenoble. But she had already proven in the Olympics in 64 that she was in the top 10 in the world. And I looked for the men, and there was no men. No Canadian man had ever stood on a podium in alpine skiing, except my hero when I started to learn about skiing, Ernie McCullough. But Ernie McCullough was the head of the ski school at Mount Tremblant in Quebec.
Right.
And when they came to Eastern United States for what they called classic race with the World Cup ski racers after the Olympics. They always used to do this. They'd have a year and they would go to the Olympics, and then they would have a race in Eastern United States or Western United States. And they go to places like Squaw Valley in 1960, or they would go to, I think it was Lake Placid was the first time they did it. I don't have my facts there clear, but
one of those.
And somebody said to Ernie McCullough, why don't you go? He goes, let's do it.
Down the slope?
Yeah, let's go to this classic race.
Okay.
I believe it was in Waterville Valley, Vermont. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks, if you're listening and you know the history there. So he goes there and he beats the gold medalist.
Whoa.
He beats everybody. And when he comes back, everybody's going, you got to go to the Olympics. And he goes, no, I have a full-time job.
Right.
And Ernie McCullough never did. But 4 years later, they had a race in Sun Valley, Idaho. And he beats the Olympic champion again. And so he was the only Canadian male that had ever stood on a podium of any world renown to say, well, why don't the men do it like the women do it? So I said, I want to inspire the rest of Canadians. I want to inspire Canada. I want to inspire the men of Canada to do it. And my parents thought I was nuts coming from Saskatchewan.
Right.
And so I had to work it back. And, I mean, I'll just give them briefly to you. I worked it back and I said, okay, Olympic Games, first, second, third. I don't want to be anything less than first, second, third. So work it back. Okay, the year before that, at the very least, you've got to be in the top 10. No, you got to do better than that. You got to be in the top 3 in one race. The year before that, you got to be in World Cup and be able to compete at that level and know where you're at. And then, okay, you got to work it back. Okay, you got to be one of the best in North America.
Year before.
The year before that. Oh, and before that, you got to be the best in Canada. And then before that, you got to be the best in the province of Alberta. And before that, you're nobody.
Right.
You're just starting. So go and seek the club that is in line with those goals.
That'll get you there.
And I happened to find the Ski Meister Ski Club here in Calgary had in their mandate, they said, we will place one male and one female on the national team every year. Every other club, it was, we're a racing club in Alberta. We're a racing club in Edmonton. We're a racing club in Red Deer. We have a racing program in Banff.
Right.
And I said, I want to make that team. And they said, well, you got to try out. I've never raced.
You were what, 12?
I was 12.
Yeah. That's crazy.
How are you going to do that? And then when I found out that there was 169 men that signed up for this program and only select 10, I had never raced a course. I had never even had a ski lesson. But I said, what can I do? What can I do? What growth goal can I set? I can set one goal to begin with. I will outwork every man on this hill. There's 169 guys there. I am going to be the one that outworks everybody else, and I'm going to do it with so much commitment that they can't help but see me. Now, did I know I was going to make it that first year? No, I didn't think I was. But I set that as a goal, and I made it.
Wow.
Because they noticed that I was doing things that nobody else was willing to do.
Right.
And I was committed to it and doing it consistently all the time. And I had learned that from gardening.
What?
Remember,
gardening?
I grew up. I know, you're going to say that's crazy. But remember, I grew up on a farm and we grew crops. And my father was all about growing the best crops. And when your food that you eat is dependent on you growing it.
Oh, well, there's a difference,
Now you understand it because
there's some more fire behind your
there's
soul.
Incredible fire behind that.
Yeah.
Because we had 5-gallon pails and jars of canned fruit and canned vegetables and things put in the cooler that we ate year round. We never went to a grocery store. I didn't even go to a grocery store. Because we had everything at home. We had everything we needed. We had a cow that had milk, gave us cheese and butter and ice cream.
Right. Ice cream. What?
We had everything.
Right. That's cool. Yeah.
And we didn't have to go. And I remember being taught, you always hoe the row you sow.
You always hoe the row you sow.
Now, if you're not in agriculture and you're not in a garden, you may not understand that. But
Like
let me
me.
explain it. A hoe it's got this sharp edge on the front, and you go like this, and you move all the dirt, and you make it soft and prepare the soil. But most of all, what you're doing is killing the weeds that stop the crop from growing. And you learn this at a very young age. And you learn to hoe the row you sow because you want the vegetables to grow. You don't want the weeds to grow. And so there's this consistency of discipline to hoe the row you sow. In other words, what are you doing to help yourself grow every day? And guess what? You have to hoe the garden every day because you don't get it all done in one day. When you have massive gardens like we had, you couldn't do it all in one day. You've got rows of potatoes. You've got rows of carrots, rows of corn.
You can't do it in right away. It takes time.
It takes time. And you also have to water it.
Right.
You also have to fertilize it. You also have to help it grow. And because you have to do all these things, you suddenly realize that you're always working on helping the seeds that you've sown. And what are the seeds you've sown? What's taking you towards the fruit that you want to eat. And because it's taking you towards the fruit that you want to eat, this luscious thing that you taste later on, a month, 2 months later, when you pull up a fresh carrot and it's got dirt all over it and you're out in the garden, you don't go to the kitchen and wash it. You just go in your pants like this.
You take a bite.
And you wipe it off and you eat the dirt and the carrot.
Right.
And it's the best thing you've ever tasted.
Because it's your blood and sweat.
It's your blood and sweat.
Right.
And this was as real to me as applying it to saying, I want to be the best skier in the world. What's the row I got to hoe? What rows do I have to hoe? And I outlined it all. I put it all together and I said, okay, I can be there in 1972. I was 12 in 1965. I can be there.
Jim, I don't think you understand, like, 12-year-olds
I don't understand.
Listen. I don't think you understand the mind of 12-year-olds. Like, 12-year-olds don't make goals like that. They're like, oh, yeah, 1972. Yeah, I can be in. Huh? That's crazy. That, you know how crazy of a 12-year-old you must have been.
Do you want to tell that to the Irish dancer that finished third in the world last year that I coached for the last 3 years? You want to tell him that?
How old is he?
He was 11 when he came to me.
Wow.
Cole, I can tell you, folks, I can tell you, the kids that have come and trained with me, the thing I hear more than anything else is kids saying to me, I waited too long to come and see you. Mm. You know where this starts? It starts with teaching your children from the moment they take their first breath. You say, what? You start training your children at birth? Well, maybe not the first day.
Bench press in the high chair.
But think about it. Every muscle in Cole's body, there's 28 to 32 levels of every muscle in his body.
Some of them pretty
big. And he wants to bench press 225. And I bet he hasn't even woken up the first 14 levels. I bet he hasn't woken up the first 14. Because I know how much he can lift and I know how much power it takes to do that. And for you to wake up every muscle in your arm, every muscle in your body, where does it start? I'm going to try and do this and you'll understand it. This is a baby sitting on the floor with mom in the kitchen watching him, Cole, on a blanket. And this is him sitting there like this. Excuse me for a second. His head is down like this and he lifts his head up and he's looking for mom and he sees mom and he's shaking like crazy and then his head goes.
Slams down.
And that's because the muscles are tired. It's because they haven't been built yet. But Cole wants to see what's going on. He can smell the cookies. He wants to know what they look like.
You know me and cookies, Jim. You know me and cookies.
Yes, you and cookies.
And hot dogs.
And hot dogs. And he wants to know where that smell is coming from. And he'll taste it one day and he'll go, I would do anything for that. Same with his arms. When he finally pushes his arms up and he tries to get up. When he takes his first step, he falls down because the muscles aren't formed. Everything you do starts with zero. You've never done it before. That's why failing is a good thing.
Because it starts at nothing.
Because it starts at nothing. And failure starts with nothing. You can't do it. You couldn't do it. And so failure is not failure.
Because it's not below zero. That doesn't make sense. It's actually
It's finding a way to hoe the row you sow. It's finding a way to get that seed of idea in your head that starts there to all of a sudden blossom and say, I can do this. But you know what? If you quit for a day, you lose. You know, if you miss 3 days of training in a row, you know how much percentage of your power goes away in only 3 days? 3%. 3% of your strength disappears. You miss 5 days, 7%. So, why do most people fail? A, they don't set growth goals. They don't even know what it is. B, they're not disciplined enough to be consistent. And because they're not disciplined enough to be consistent, they lose everything they have. And when they start over again, they go, oh, this doesn't work. I'm not making any progress. You can't afford to miss a day. You can't afford to. You're always hoeing the row you sow. And if you hoe the row that says, I can take the day off, I'll do twice as much tomorrow, it doesn't work that way. Because Cole can't lift his head if he misses 2 days. He's got to start over again.
Right. Wow.
I knew I was going to make it because I knew how to work. I knew that if you set goals that are the dream of where you want to be 10 years from now, you only get temporary inspiration. But if you do Now, in other words, where you've written it in and says training, you own it. And when you own it and you finish it, you can actually say, I won today. And because I won today, if I do what's important now, every time it has to come up, I move towards the goal that I have. The real question is not what's the goal, what's the result? The real question is, who do I want to become?
What's the growth?
Who do I want to become? Do I want to be somebody that can bench press 225?
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Got to do it.
Little lofty.
Little off.
Little lofty.
I was inspired because when I read the story of Ernie McCullough,
The ski guy.
the guy that beat the Europeans who had won gold medals.
And then said, no, I got a job, sorry.
I have
can't
a
compete.
full-time job. I'm the head of the ski school of Mount Tremblant.
Yeah.
I went, wow. If a guy that is a full-time ski instructor and head of a ski school can beat the Europeans, he's Canadian, I'm Canadian, I want to follow in his footsteps.
Right.
And I remember looking at it going, who do I have to become? And then it hit me. I have to become them. THEM, them. I have to become them. I have to have the technique. I have to have the heart. Yeah, I gotta learn how to do this. And I gotta have the heart in here that says, go, 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 never give up. And then I have to have the execution. In other words, what are all the things I have to do? Because at this point, at 12 years of age, I don't know everything I have to do. I've got to find it. I've got to research it. I've got to dig. And believe me, in 1965, there were no computers. There was no internet. You had to find this stuff the hard way by writing letters. I wrote letters to the best coaches in the world. Even if I didn't have their addresses, I would write them. And what's crazy is they would send me back what I should do. Nobody ever asked me at 12 years of age, Cole, how old I was. I would write them and I'd say, Dear Mr. Joubert, I am an Olympic skier and I'm trying to get better coming from Canada. Can you tell me what I should do?
They answered your question.
And they answered it. The reason why a 12-year-old can do this is because they have no fear. A 4.5-year-old is indestructible. Just play with one. You will discover they're indestructible. But you've got to become indestructible.
Right. You can learn from them.
And then them. Who are they? Who are the best in the world? They not only know the technique, they not only have heart, they know how to execute what they have to do, but they do it until they master it. They have mastery. And so for me, I just went, I'm them. I'm them. I don't care who you are. I'm you. I'm becoming you. And of course, that lined up with the way I was raised because my dad always said, train at the level 3 levels above you. Why? You know, if you've listened to my podcast, you've heard this before. Because the guys at your level are doing the same things. The guys at the next level have already learned what you don't know. The guys at this level are trying to get there. And if you're trying to get here, you've got to aim for this guy, but he's aiming for here.
Yeah. They're always
So if
above.
you want to hit this, you've got to be training for somebody 3 levels higher than you. What do they do? How do they train? How do they think? What are they mastering? And this requires internal training. Internal training. You have to train your character. Because if you don't have character emotionally, mentally, physically, technically, and tactically, that's what you're responsible for. You know, you watch any high performance championship being played out in the arena. What do they talk about the most? They talk about we weren't emotionally ready, or we were emotionally ready. Or his emotions got the best of him and he slashed the guy. And that's why he went to the penalty box. And that's why in the power play they scored. So you have to master who you are internally. And then you surround yourself with your external team, your world. This 6-foot world that you have right here, when you spread your arms out and make a circle, this 6 to 7 foot world that you have right here, you're responsible for that, but you're also responsible for the people that you associate with in your world. Those that relationally work there. Why? Because you've got to work with your parents. You've got to work with your siblings. It isn't just you. You have to be concerned about other people. You can't just think about you all the time. And then you have to work corporately. In other words, like Wayne Gretzky told me, he says the most important thing you can do to play in the NHL is to read the rule book. Why? Because you can win games if you know what the rules are. He told me himself, the Edmonton Oilers won 7 games because he went to the referee with 2 minutes left in the game when they needed a goal and said, do you know that guy's got a curved stick that's too much curve? Because that was a penalty at one time. I don't know if it still is, but it was. And the referee'd go over and check it, and sure enough, 2 minutes, penalty box. Because the guy didn't know the rules. And it's the same in everything. We don't want athletes competing, taking drugs. We want them clean. We want it to be fair. We want everybody to play by the rules. So corporately, you need to know what the rules are of the sport, of the dance, of the performance that you're trying to do. And then financially, how are you going to do it if you have no money? You know, unless you think that I had rich parents, I didn't. That's why we grew our own vegetables. That's why we never went to the grocery store.
Boy Jim, he had to make his food in the ground.
Dad said, you want to go to the Olympics? You want to be a ski racer?
Figure it out.
You find the money. I'll give you a job. You can work for me at 12 years of age. Spring, summer, and fall, I work for him.
On the farm.
So I could ski all winter. I think I had the best life in the world.
Yeah.
I don't care what any of you think or
12
say.
years old.
I had the best life in the world.
Kind of nuts.
Competitively. You need to know your competition. You need to know your teammates. You need to build them up. You need to tell them that I want you to be the best you can be so that you challenge yourself to be the best you can be when you take them on. And then you want to leave a legacy.
Wow.
You want to reshape the way everybody else sees the sport. Why? Because for that 190-second moment, when your national anthem is being played or somebody else's is being played, if you're standing on first, second, and third, you're thinking about the fact that what am I leaving behind by what I've done? I know what I did. I inspired 4 other guys that became known as the Crazy Canucks. I joined them. The 5 of us became the Crazy Canucks. And those 4 guys went on to do more than I ever did.
Wow.
And I look at it and I go, what a legacy to leave. And they inspired racers. And they inspired people. This is setting growth goals. So let me ask you, what rows are you hoeing? How do you know? What do you say every day? What are the words you use? Wish I could do that. Why not? Why keep saying, I wish I could do that? Why not say, I'm doing that? What rows are you hoeing? That's impossible. No, it's not. The only difference between possible and impossible is I am on the front, which says I'm possible. I'm possible. Are you possible? Yes, you are. And you can be 7 and be I'm possible. Or you can hoe the row that says that's impossible.
And don't do it.
And you won't do it.
Won't bench 225.
You will. Cole?
I will?
You will bench 225.
I'm getting there. Putting in the
because
work.
you've put in 45 days. You're 60% there.
60%?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, I'm thinking of the days and how long it takes to do it. If you're consistent every week, yeah, you're about 60% there.
Wow. That's inspiring.
What'd you do last time? How much did you lift last time?
Like bench press?
Yeah.
I haven't tried bench press.
Okay, well,
I've been doing dumbbell press. I've been doing some other more isolated movements, but
good man. Well,
I'll get there. I'll let you know.
So, if you're going to hoe the row, you grow. Why don't you set some goals that say, today, I'm going to grow this much, just this much. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to worry about what I'm going to do next week. I always tell every kid, every person I've ever worked with, just think about it. If you went up 1% a week in 1 year, 52% better than you were. 52%. And it gets bigger because the bigger the number,
The bigger
the bigger the percentage.
Yeah.
But by then, you've developed a system that says, I can do this. Write me. Tell me. Tell me what goals you have. Tell me your goals. Tell me the way you think of them. I will help you set them into growth goals. And then I can tell you what to do with them after you get them on paper. Because once you get them on paper, at least you have something to aim for. But how you're going to take it to that next level, well, that comes next. Piece by piece. Just like gardening. You go out there and, get this, folks. When you grow a garden, you don't just put all the rows in the same direction, in the same place, in the same way. You know that there are certain crops that you have to plant on the east side of the field, and some on the west side of the field, and some on the south side of the field, and some on the north side of the field. Why? Because each one of them is sensitive to how much sunlight and how much moisture they can handle. And some can be over-fertilized, overheated, and you can destroy the crop. So having a plan and having a balance is vital, and that's what I can help you with. Become a Patreon. Join In the Jungle with Jungle Jim Hunter. And you know what we're going to do? When Cole bench presses 225, we're going to videotape it. And we're going to put it on
We're going on the Patreon.
And you guys will finally meet Cole, and you will see him bench press 225.
You'll be like, wow, look at that big guy that's moving some
Exactly.
big weight. Whoa.
Hey, thanks for listening. Appreciate it. And if you want to hear the extended material, become a Patreon. Join up. Thanks for listening.
We're going to go right there. All right. See you guys.